wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one, that one, damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of This, back here with another video, and I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Came here to give you the third part of What If Asta Was Yuja's Reincarnation. Let's curse each other. And I don't really have much else to say. Let's just get right into the video. Hope you like it. Hope you don't get distracted by the background noise. And I'm gonna try to put a little bit more into the editing factor of this video. Try to put some images, put some clips, enough that I don't get like demonetized, but enough to make you guys at least more entertained, so you can keep watching the video and finish it all out instead of just taking a break and then coming back. So without any further ado, let's recap. We last began with Asta and Yami going to meet Julius, and there Asta uses anti-magic to deactivate a protective spell put on Heath and his men. Then he left, and after getting a personal mission from Julius, he, Noah, and Luck went to the dungeon, where Luck of course leaves to fight, and it will accidentally trigger a trap. Both he and Yuno destroy the plant about to attack her just as Yuno and the Golden Dawn arrive, and the two brothers would catch up as Noah and Mimosa do the same. Klaus, however, acts sour when Yuno and Asta try to spark up competition and start to talk, so the two would part ways, with Asta forming a Shikigami from the 10 Shadows technique to carry them away. As they split up, however, Asta stopped mid-way to the treasure room to go save Luck, and he beat Lotus before then helping Luck calm down, and they get a little bit closer. By that time, Noel came to the treasure room where Mars had attacked, and he was then beaten by Yuno, surprisingly. And yeah, they go to the treasure room, and then Yuno gets a special spell, but then Mars would reawaken and attack, but Yuno protects herself with her Sea Dragon's Cradle. And then they go out to see Mars swinging down with a giant sword just as Rika appears before them, destroying the sword before Asta then shows up and punches down the mage, officially beating him for good. As they leave, Klaus officially and finally apologizes to Asta and Yuno, who say it's okay. The next day, they all gather to give a report and show that they got a bunch of interesting stuff, such as Yuno showing his grimoire to Julius and letting him see a new spell, and Asta bringing out the sack holding treasures that he stored inside Rika. After this, they then went to the Valor ceremony where Asta was made a senior magic knight, much to some nobles' chagrin. Then the banquet happens, but because people won't stop bad-mouthing his friends, Asta damn nearly kills them just with his presence, but luckily Julius came back and stopped him, making Asta leave, the nobles completely terrified. But Asta's friends follow him outside to comfort him, just as an explosion goes off, and Asta uses cursed speech to make the people run away while he rises into the air and uses cursed speech on a way higher level. As a wave of undead begins to rampage far off near the orphanage of Hodge, we find Teresa evacuating when she and everyone else find themselves surrounded. The sister would explode with fire as she tells everyone to back away, and she looks around seeing others were also being attacked, and it's frustrating, but she knows she can't handle everything. Leaving things to an old woman like myself, you lazy. Her words are then cut off by the word die, as this word would echo throughout the air, reaching the entire kingdom, as the undead would then be crushed by an invisible force. What just happened? People will be saying, as those who were just being attacked will be relieved as they look around to see the undead being destroyed, until someone then spots Asta flying by them, and Rika would be behind him as he would then land down, and he would ask, "Are you guys okay?" "Yeah, thank you." What kind of magic was that, they wonder, as Asta would then put the microphone to his mouth, the one that he has summoned in the last part, and he says extinguish. These words would carry out demands and would completely put out the fires before the microphone then disappears, leaving the people shocked but relieved as Teresa quickly then makes them evacuate, not wanting to let Asta's efforts go to waste. "Please don't worry about it too much, I got it from here." Asta would then nod and jump back into the air, with Rika then saying, "Yuta, they're here." As he flies up, he would then dodge a blast of magic and turn to see a mage appear. "If you don't want to get hurt, just..." His words then come to a stop as from behind him portals and more portals appear as more enemies and more of his allies arrive, to then feel the same presence of death that had frozen him in his step, but he's in the air right now, you get what I'm trying to say. And as they arrive, Asta would then pull out his anti-magic sword. Kill them, Yuta," Rika would be saying, as meanwhile the captains who were about to go out and stop the breakout they had heard of, as they were flying on Nozelle's silver carpet, they only see people were already being saved. "Don't tell me that commoner did this," Solid would say. Charlotte would then say, "He has something called cursed speech. He inputs demands behind his words. He must have put out the fires and taken out the enemies, I guess." Hearing this, the others are shocked that such an ability even exists, but they're not going to doubt it because they saw where that ended up taking them. As they move on to defeat the mages that are starting to appear, though, they feel a weird amount of mana surround them, and instantly they are warped elsewhere and find themselves miles away from the Clover Kingdom. God damn it, Soul would yell. As back at the kingdom, Leopold will be running to the street and ends up finding Yuno using Mana Zone to completely destroy Rades, as he would then slam his stomach with the Wind Ray, knocking him unconscious. Noel, Mimosa, Klaus, they were all evacuating or trying to help and beat some rebel mages, and Leopold just looks around wondering where Asta is. I mouthed off like I was strong, but in his eyes, I must be a mere insect or something. While he looks for Asta though, Noel will then tell him to be careful, as many hooded mages then land down from the sky and ambush him. Shit, Leopold would say, as he readies his magic and they start releasing attacks only for the mana to fade away. Sorry I'm late. Without warning, the men have their heads cleaved off as their stumps would spurt with blood while they let off residue of anti-magic which looks like black lightning. Leopold, while shocked, hears steps behind him and quickly turns to see Asta land while Rika was still behind him holding a witch in her hand, and he also becomes very intimidated by the presence of the queen. Are you okay? Asta would ask. He seems so different from before, but in the midst of battle he moves so swift, so this is a senior match. I can't even call him that, can I? He begins to get lost in the daze when the voice of his brother then soon wakes him up, and he is grabbed by the shoulder as Fugolion would then ask him if he was okay, and Leopold would then look up to Fugolion and say, "Brother, yeah, I'm okay. Wait, where's Asta?" He then finds that Asta was now gone, and Yuno runs over saying that he left when he didn't answer the 5th time he called for him, but he had to get back to the battle, so yeah, and this makes the Crimson Knight a bit embarrassed. Well, he is just one man, so help out. You can't just lose focus so easily in such situations. As for Asta, having already beaten most of the rebel mages that appeared, he stored the first ones and beat up the other ones and then stored them, and he put them inside Rika. And after storing the witch, he then thanks Rika as she would then disappear, with him landing on a rooftop, and he surveys the area. Okay, mages are spreading out. Some hostage. Does Captain Yami just not come up in these moments? Asta would think, just as he starts to fall into a black portal. It's just like the other ones, he thought, as quickly he turns to see Valtos, who with a smile would watch him fall to the portal, and he would finally land as Asta looks up to see himself in a room with a hooded man. Standing before him, he would feel this kind of eerie energy from this guy. This must be your hideout. The man then slowly takes off his hood, showing his true face, as he would then smile, saying, "How did a worthless worm like you stop my people?" Asta would then point his anti-magic sword to him, asking, "What's your goal?" Lick only keeps smiling, and in an instant he appears before Asta, well in thought. You can't even keep up with my... Quickly, before he can say anything more, he then feels a huge rupture in his chest as he looks down to see Asta's katana jabbed in there. In a split second, Asta would then rip it out and summon a dagger to his hand before then starting to stab him all over until he reaches his thighs and ending his combo with a punch to the enemy's face, sending him flying outside the hideout. As he crashes into the forest, however, he managed to stop himself with his flying powers, and then he would just land down to his knees as he begins to spew blood to an insane degree. Luckily though, because of the adrenaline, he was barely feeling the huge amount of pain he should be feeling right now, but as a side effect, he was simply just stunned. How is this possible? Asta would then quickly appear beside him, swinging down the sword to his neck, only for Lick's eyes to widen as his stare becomes murderous and becomes rage-driven, and he explodes with light, causing a huge explosion to rip through the forest for miles on end. And this is when Julius appears on the scene as he looks down from above. Am I too late? He would ask, as he quickly then appears back on the ground, and as the dust is blown away, Asta will be shown putting away his katana into his pocket space. Oh, Mr. Julius. Julius then looks at him up and down, seeing he was splattered with blood, and asks how it was. He's fast for sure, Asta would say, but he must have been underestimating me, so maybe he was still holding back. Ah, damn it, my shirt. Vanessa-senpai is gonna be so mad at me. As he freaks out over the uniform, Julius would then smile, thinking that even though he's such a strong kid, he's very normal otherwise. Come on, let's investigate. Asta then says sure and follows him, saying, "Oh, sorry about the scene. I'm calm now. That was very immature." He's of course referring to what he did in the room at the banquet, and Julius would say, "I'm glad. No, it's fine. Not that what they did was okay, but that is their current system. You could change that yourself, though." "Nah, that's what Yuno's here for. If that's fine with you," Julius would say. Back at the kingdom, everything had calmed down, and the captains and others had returned as they all gathered near the castle, when behind them Julius appears with Asta, and they quickly turn to see him. "Asta, what happened? You just disappeared out of nowhere," Noah would say. As Asta would then say, "How did you even notice? I have no magic at all. It's easy to when you fight seriously. You make people Tense, Yuta would say. Asta would then say, well, he's all good, and summons Rika, who would then bring out the people he captured, and he would then lay them out onto the ground. Yuta, can I kill them? She would say with a murderous rage, as she would then point to the crowd of mages, with Asta then freaking out as he yells, say, no, I was just really mad back then, don't curse them. Fine, but don't bully Yuta again. You got me? They all would then nod with haste as she then huffs and disappears, as Julius would then say, well, I think it's fair to say this was a wake-up call. Whatever happened today, we must move forward for the peace of this kingdom. Then excuse me, Nozawa would say, as he would then walk off, passing by Asta, who he would tell that he will not lose to. Ditto, Asta would say. The captains then walk off as their members would follow, and everyone says they will get stronger to make sure that something like this never happens again. And this is even more serious since Asta came out of nowhere and took the rank of Senior Magic Knight all in just like one day and showed them why he deserves it. So they're not being in denial anymore, and they knew that it wasn't going to help them to just keep thinking of him as a commoner. After this incident, Asta and Noel return to the Bulls, where he then tells them that he is not a Senior Magic Knight. Magna and Luck would then say, what? How? As Luck and Magna would then say this, and Yami says he basically single-handedly took care of everything, evacuated villagers, captured everyone, etc. And Yami would say, you guys are going to have to treat him with respect from now on. Please don't make a big deal out of it, Asta would say. Gordon would then call giving Asta a necklace saying, congratulations, and he whispers this. Asta would then say, thanks. Oh, it has a curse imbued with it. Why do you sound excited by that? Noah would yell, as he would then put the necklace on. He says it feels comfortable. Gordon would smile at this comment, as Luck would then ask Asta to fight him right now because he wants to get stronger, and Magna and Noah would ask the same since they don't really have anything else to do, and Asta would say, oh, sure. Actually, Fernand would say, for now, could you help me out? Let's go on a triple date real quick. This comes out of nowhere and is surprising to the boys, as they would then make Noel jealous that he even brought this up. And then we actually cut to a few minutes later when we find Luck, Finral, and Asta sitting before Rebecca and her friends in a pub. As Finral starts a conversation, Asta finds himself in thought as he would then think, I never should have come here. He is bored out of his mind, but he doesn't notice all the girls actually looking at him, and Finral would then snap him out of his daze to introduce himself because he and Luck have already done so while he was just lost in a daydream. Oh, I'm Asta from the Black Bulls. I'm from the Hodge village. Do I need to say my rank? Yeah, go ahead, Fernand would say. Well, I'm a Senior Magic Knight. I know it might be hard to believe since I don't have any magic. It's complicated, but it's nice to meet you. One of the friends would then ask, if you don't have magic, then what was that voice thing you did? Oh, that's cursed speech. It imbues my words with cursed energy behind it, so... His words are then interrupted by a drunk man as he slams his cup into their dining table and everyone turns to look at him. Hey there, little lady. Still out here, huh? Rebecca would instinctively back away as everyone notices he is talking about her, and he then goes to see something else when his eyes then become lifeless, within them starting to fall, but Asta catches him, surprising everyone, as they didn't even notice him move to catch him. Maybe you need to sober up a bit, sir. He would then excuse himself and drag him outside of the pub before then leaving him out on the street and walking back with the thumbs up. He just walks back in and puts a thumbs up, and this would give Asta a standing ovation as they clap for him while he would then walk back to his seat. Sorry you had to deal with that, Asta would say, and Rebecca would say, oh no, it's okay. Thank you for stepping in before he said anything more. My pleasure. After this, the group would then actually start to talk and get to know one another and learn more about each other, as Luck actually starts to learn that one of the girls uses magic to cut hair and she has a little business, and he starts to talk about things like magic control, and the girl actually likes the bad boy type, which Luck kind of is because he's a bit insane, but she's kind of falling for it, and Fernand gets along with the other girl since he may be flashy, but she likes how willing he is to help her out with his magic. As for Asta, he and Rebecca have a bunch in common. Oh, and my brothers do that too, Asta would say. I swear I literally say anything and then makes them just say I'm suspicious, right? And then all of a sudden they just act like you don't exist, Rebecca would say. And they would just laugh about this. And in short, they all get along, but while they do this, Noelle would be dressed up and acting as a maid just to spy on Asta, even though she keeps denying that she is. And she then walks out with 2 plates, and she feels quite bizarre about this whole thing, that she's even doing this to begin with. Ah, damn, they're actually hitting it off, she thinks. And this is when someone says, hey, Missy, can I order something? Noelle then looks to the customer, however, and tells him to shut up, confusing and offending him because she says it with such a straight face, and he finds it weird that she's even working here. And after a bit of talking, the group would then leave and split up, with Asta then following Rebecca towards her home, so Noelle actually quits to follow after him. Well, yeah, him, not them. She doesn't care about Rebecca that much. Rebecca would then say, so, is there anyone you like now? As they're walking in, Asta would say, that's complicated, but I guess you could say yes and no. What happened to her? I don't really feel like talking about it. The past is the past. She's not really here anymore. I'm over it. And this is when Rebecca would say, "Oh well, when I come to my place, I'm sure my siblings would love to play with you." And this is when Asta says, "Sure," as they would then go, while Noelle of course follows him, and Rebecca, because she's a stalker. As the sun starts to set, Asta reaches her home and starts playing with her siblings, as well as the orphanage kids who recognize him, saving them. And Sister Teresa is also present, along with Rebecca, as this is when one of the kids would say, "Oh, Big Bro Asta, how did you do that stuff even though you can't use magic?" "Oh, that's complicated," Asta would say. "All you need to know is, I'm the strongest." "Really?" Marie would ask. Asta would then say, "Yeah," just as he feels something wrong. It would appear right in front of the kids, as he would then backhand away a mirror ray, and everyone turns to see Ghost with his grimoire out, as blood would then trickle down from his nose. "Get the hell away from my angel, you punk." The kids all instantly hide behind Asta, who would then sigh, asking Ghost what he's doing. Marie also asks the same with a disapproving tone, making Ghost break internally. "Yep, I'm gonna kill you," he says, and Rebecca is about to tell him to calm down, but Teresa says Asta's got it. "Look," he stopped moving. Rebecca then sees Ghost slightly retreat, and she wonders why, and the reason why is because Asta showed the Inumaki sigil on his mouth, and Ghost knows what it can do. "You wouldn't," Ghost would say. Asta, however, only smiles, and this angers Ghost, who would then activate his grimoire, making his mirrors disappear, and as such, Asta makes the sigils disappear, before Teresa then thanks Asta and says that it's probably better for the kids to leave now, so they start to follow her, when Ghost would then say, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? Me and Marie are about to go on a play date." Teresa would then walk up to him saying, "Having her around you is already bad enough, and you're just a horrible influence. It's time for her to return. You still have a bad attitude and that filthy mouth of yours, and you still give people dirty looks." "The fuck you say?" Ghost would say. And this is when Teresa says, "My point exactly." As the two begin a back and forth, soon Ghost loses and has to leave, but he doesn't actually leave. He stays around the area because he's that type of guy. Asta gets invited to stay at Rebecca's home, and he does until night falls, and he gets his own bed and starts to sleep over. But while he slept, he felt a spike in negative energy and opens his eyes instantly. Outside, as snow starts to fall in the streets, parents and guardians walk about flustered and confused, having noticed their kids were missing. And the most concerned of these guardians was Ghost, as he had lifted up Teresa by her robes and was yelling at her. "You old hag, what the hell were you doing? You just let her leave? You didn't notice? You expect me to believe that?" At this point, Asta runs out, saying to let her go before he makes him, and Ghost says he doesn't care anymore, only for Asta to appear right beside him and grab his arm before then squeezing it and instantly making him let go. "Calm down or I'll knock you out. Then you just be making things worse, so watch yourself." "Thank you once again," Asta, Teresa would say. "Like I said before, this is magic that controls others, but we can still track them." As Teresa says this, a scream is then heard, as Noelle would then say, "Asta, I saw them," and everyone then turns to see Noelle run out. And while Asta wonders why she's here, he asks about what she knows, and she says that she knows the direction the kids went in. And as she says this, Rebecca then runs out, saying her siblings had been taken. "Don't worry," Asta would say. "If I know what direction they're in, then I can definitely find them." As Asta says this, he then looks off and looks to the nearest source of negative or sinister energy until he pinpoints it, and in the blink of an eye, he then disappears, as from far away they then see him yell, just like he's like really far away, and they hear him just yell to follow him. "He can track them?" Teresa would ask, and Ghost would then say he doesn't care and just wants Mary back, so he follows after Asta, and the same goes for Sister Teresa. And while he ran, Asta would then yell, "Don't worry, Ruka and Marco are gonna be back like nothing ever happened." "Wait, I can help." "Ah, come on, they can't hear me," Noah would say. "I'll just call for backup." Meanwhile, in the cave, we find Marie, who has regained consciousness and is scared. "Oh, those guys the ones who brought us here," she thought, as she then saw that before her were a huge crowd of kids, and then before them were Barrow and Neige. But Neige then notices his spell breaking, and he walks over. How did you... No, it doesn't matter. If you don't listen, then we can't be friends, you know?" "But that's wrong," Marie would say. "You can't make friends like this. Friends aren't puppets. This isn't what friends do." In a state of anger, Neige would then slap Marie across the face, just as she would then hit the floor, just as Burrow would then walk up, smacking him on the head, saying, "I told you not to harm the goods. If anything, she's the diamond of this patch. We're gonna make a killing. Don't ruin it for me." But this one doesn't have much mana. He would then grab a young Marco under the illusion of magic and go to throw him away, only for the young boy to disappear from his grasp, shocking him, as from behind he then hears Neige get the wind knocked out of him as his body then thuds to the ground. Marie would then yell out Asta's name in a quite hopeful tone, as Barrow then turns to face him, and while he has knocked out Neige, he was also holding Marco, who in this instant, due to being near Asta's anti-magic katana, which he brought out, he's just freed of the magic. And Marco would then say, "Huh? Asta, what's going on?" Asta simply pats him on the head, telling him that they were gonna go back home soon, and he comforts him while Baro will be checking his magic glasses, but then he sees Asta doesn't have an ounce of mana. Then why the hell am I scared of this bastard, he thought. And how'd you get Neige? Is this maybe the guy that we're talking about? At this moment, Asta then waves his sword forward, releasing an anti-magic kind of mist into the air, causing the illusion magic on the kids to cancel as they quickly then regain their consciousnesses. And they are confused, then only to realize that Asta was here, but he then tells them to stay there because this is getting dangerous and they cannot get near Baro at all. So, what's that thing for? Asta would say as he points to the magical device, and Baro was left scared, not knowing what to do or expect. How can you not have any magic? Are you hiding it somehow? Oh, I don't use magic. I use something called cursed energy. Ever heard of it? Hell no, I've never heard. What's cursed energy? Is he just spouting bullshit, he thinks? Is that maybe how he's hiding his true power? Since I don't use magic, Asta would say, when I beat someone as annoying as you, it means to curse them, so what do you say? Let's curse each other as much as we want. In that instant, Baro crashes to his knees as he feels an overwhelming amount of info of stimulus pierce all his senses, and all he could feel was complete fear and nothing else, as Asta's energy just turns up, and his face turns to one of anger, while Baro's mouth starts to foam, and he just slowly loses consciousness as his body continues to twitch. Maybe I should have done way more. You guys okay? They didn't hurt you, did they? Asta says as he would then run over, and they gather while crying, saying that they were so scared and they want to go home, but Asta tries to calm them down, just as Ghosh would then enter the cave flying in with Sister Teresa. Mary! Mary, at the mention of her name, then turns and reveals a bruise on her cheek, and instantly Teresa and Asta knew he was going to lose his mind, and he would then land as he starts stomping on Neige's head while preparing to blow off Baro's with a mirror ray. What the hell did you bastards do to my little Mary, huh? Marie, however, says it's okay, as by this point, Asta would then come over and grab her face while he starts to heal her from her wounds with reverse cursed energy, and a transparent sort of aura would envelop his hand. See? There, it's gone. Now we can destroy them completely. Asta got really scary, Marco would say, as Teresa would then yell for them to both stop because they're making the kids uncomfortable, and Asta would instantly apologize. With a nervous smile, he would then say that while Ghosh is definitely, he definitely should be allowed to kick those people's heads in, it's not gonna exactly make Marie not hate him less. So he does, and then this is when they proceed to feel another presence enter the room, and this is when Ghosh would instantly fire a ray into the sky towards Sally, who had just appeared through a portal. Sally summons her salamander, which then takes the attack and reflects it back. Oh, you're fun. Oh, shut up already, Asta would say, as he then appears right in front of Sally, who didn't even notice him, as she is then grabbed by the face and thrown to the ground, causing her to crater into it. But as she does, Sally's salamander then goes to attack. But with a quick 20 slashes filled with intense, cursed energy, Asta would explode the beast to nothing as he then begins to land, and he stares down Sally, who can barely even move in his mere presence. But she's laughing. How did you do that? It's like, wow, you really don't have any magic, do you? She's smiling while on the verge of death. That's very Jujutsu sorcerer-like. He would then activate the Unumaki sigil, saying, "Go to sleep." These words would knock out Sally, as he would then kneel down and his hand would be put out in front of her as it explodes with reverse cursed energy, and Sally would then explode with transparent energy, and slowly she starts to heal, as Teresa is left completely astonished. That's faster than most healing mages. By this point, Sally is fully healed, and Asta would then stand, when the cave would then explode with light, as they would then all look up to see a portal opening. The present mages would be frozen in the presence of all the mana they felt just fill the room, and in the blink of an eye, Asta appears right in front of all of them, holding his arms out. Ghosh would then go to say something when he freezes to see Asta leak blood to the ground, and we then see Asta pierced by many light spears, but he does not waver once. Asta, are you okay? Marie would yell, as the kids were very worried, but Asta would smile, saying it's okay, just as Lick would then fall out of the portal, and slowly he would float down with Vatos as they would then touch ground. Asta then flexes and expels the spears from his body, just as he erupts with reverse cursed energy and slowly starts to heal. Get out of here, Asta would say, as both he and Lick then attack, and they would clash, with Asta's katana clashing with Lick's light sword, causing a shockwave to quake the entire cave. And Asta would then yell for them to go quickly, and Teresa starts to leave, while Ghosh would then grab Marie and fly out. What do you think you're going, Vatos would say, as he then goes to release a magic bullet, only for his arm to be grabbed by Rika, who then bends like a twig, making him scream as he falls to his knees and ends up looking at her. Shivers run down his spine, as well as Lick when she just appears, and Asta notices as he takes advantage of this and would then hit him with a roundhouse kick to his temple, sending him flying. But Asta would then appear right behind him, thrusting forward, only to be only for his thrust to then be blocked by a light shield, which would then crack on impact. Can I know your name? Lick would ask. Call me Asta. He then swings down and Lick would then disappear, appearing a few feet away as he would say, For a human, you are dangerous for sure, so I'll kill you personally. Yuta. The voice of the queen once again startles Lick, who wonders just what the hell she is, as Rika would then ask if she can kill Lick because she already took care of Vatos, and Asta would then take a long look at his enemy, sensing a huge amount of negative energy coming from him. I won't be killing him, or capturing him. This makes the curse smile, as she then understands what this means and appears right above Lick with a punch, while Asta appears right beside him with a slash, and a scared Lick barely manages to create a barrier that tanks their blows, only for this barrier to shatter, and he gets a punch slammed into his face, while Asta's katana was swiftly cut through his side, causing him to spew blood, as Asta would then open his mouth, forming the Inumaki sigil. Go to sleep. Lick is then hit by the command and just instantly loses consciousness immediately, as he then falls to the ground bleeding out, making Rika smile even more, only to see Asta then healing him. But why? He's really annoying, Rika would say, as Asta would say, we're capturing him, not killing him, remember? What happened to the other guy? Rika would then put a thumbs up as he then looks to see him foaming at the mouth, and with a nervous sweat, he hopes he's not dead. At this point is when a portal would then open up in the middle of the cave, as Asta would then turn to see Fernro walk out along with Yami. Hi guys, Asta would say. You little shit, leave some for me, Yami would say, as he would then come over and grab Asta by the head, causing Rika to scream at him, but Yami would stare her down. Rika, it's fine, Asta would say. This is just how Captain Yami is. Incredible as usual, Asta would hear, as he then recognizes his voice, and he would then turn to see Fuegoleon walk out with Charlotte and Jack. Hello, Asta, and Rika, Fuegoleon would say, as Yami then lets down Asta, who then thanks them for coming. Jack, as he notices Rika, would then get filled with fear instantly, as he does not even feel like fighting for the first time in his life, and whatever it is, he definitely does not want to fight it, and it shows on his face, as Yami would then notice and chuckle. Don't worry, Rika doesn't bite. Shut up, Jack would yell, and as the two start to argue, however, Asta tells Rika to store the prisoners. As she reaches for Lick, however, a huge burst of mana releases into the cave, as Veta would then appear right in front of Rika with a rhinoceros punch to her face, but she would catch it, much to his surprise, as quickly everyone then turns to see this man, and another portal open, and from it fall two individuals, while Rika would then pull back her arm and slam it into Veto's face, crushing it to the ground, causing a massive explosion that makes rubble start to fall. Bring it on! Rika would yell, as the dust is then blown away by a giant fireball heading towards them, but Fuegoleon would then counter with a huge ray of flames, and this cancels out the spell from Fauna, my bad. And Fauna would then say, what is that thing? Raya would then hold his hand out, and he forms a light play saying, whatever it is, it must be strong because Veto can't get up anymore. Fauna didn't even notice that and looks to see Veto struggling to even stand, but Yami would then step in front of Rika saying, leave this to us. We can't let you have all the fun. Indeed, Charlotte would say, hiding behind a child is quite disgraceful. And then in her mind, she's like thinking this about Yami. Oh my god, he sounded so cool, fangirling and shit. And Asta then apologizes to Rika, saying they need to take a break, making her feel sad because she hasn't even started yet, honestly. But then she comes back to Asta's side, and the captains stare down their enemies. As Yami would say, so, how you want to do this? It's 4 against 2. Since your friends out for the count, it's not really fair, is it? I won't even need to go all out against weaklings like you, Fauna would say. As she would then hold her hand out, causing her salamander to form as it releases a massive blast of fire that would then clash from an attack released by Fuegoleon's Fire Lion. And Fuegoleon would then say, weaklings, huh? You and I must have different definitions of the word. As he says this, their attacks would of course cancel each other out, causing a massive explosion with the two sides then charging forward, and it will be blown away just by the huge amount of mana they have, and now the fight truly begins. There are no 1v1s, instead it is simply the captains trying to completely crush the two, who are still holding on because of the love that the mana just gives them. And as the two sides clash and the area begins to quake, Asta sees they will be fine and legitimately, literally sits down to watch. Might as well, right, he thought. And this is when, as he sat down, Rika would then ask, why can't we fight? It's not that we can't, it's just that we shouldn't. We just wait. If they want backup, they'll say it. The fight then continues and rages on for a while, and slowly the third eye began to be overwhelmed, and seeing Asta was ready to destroy them at any time, Raya had no choice. As Veto remains unmoving on the ground, a portal would appear below him, and he would quickly fall through it, with the captains quickly noticing, but while their attention is on that, Raya would then grab Fauna and speed off to another portal that he creates below Lick, who would then fall through it, and quickly he then follows and reaches it while the captains chase after him. But just as he reaches it, Asta would then appear right in front of him, and the portal would be blocked by Asta, who has his arms wide out open, waiting to catch him. In that moment of stress, where Asta would release that immense cursed energy that just terrifies the mage, he would then activate his third eye, moving faster than ever before, disappearing and appearing right above the portal to just like fall into it, only for Rika to then catch his arm and rip it off just as he falls through it and disappears. The captains then land down and will be annoyed that, well, he lost them, and Asta would say, well, there's nothing we can do about it now. Thanks for the arm though, Rika. She would then spit it out, putting a thumbs up and disappearing. Like, Yami would then ask what's that supposed to mean, like, why the hell would you thank her for an arm? And Asta would then say, when it comes to my technique, I can mimic the ability of those who have curse-related abilities. The condition is, I need some flesh and blood. Then, does that mean? Charlotte would say, and Asta would then nod as a third eye would then form on his head, but instead of him bursting with magic, his cursed energy output would increase to a monstrous degree, surprising even himself. However, he quickly deactivates the eye. In mere seconds, he's already gotten stronger for Leon thought. What a terrifying ability. The next day, the captains gather, but Asta is present as well, once again to help Marks get a certain spell off of some of the captured people that he brought in. Or so he thought, as Julius would then say, I just really wanted you around for this. That sounds completely unnecessary. I just recently became a magic knight, sir, Asta would say. Yeah, well, they don't seem to mind, Julius would say, as he then points to the captains who weren't really making a big deal out of it. So he simply shrugs his shoulders and thanks Julius for letting him in on such an occasion. And Julius would then say, good, now I have something to show all of you. As they stand in the empty basement, Marks would then use his magic to show a recording of Julius asking the new prisoners one question. I had a feeling for a while, I've had this for a while, and I didn't want to admit it, but there must be someone amongst us. So who is that one person, that traitorous captain, who has been helping you out? As he poses this question, Geldor, the captain of the Purple Orchis, grows a nervous sweat as they then say his name, and instantly everyone stares him down with intense bloodlust. Wait, you guys don't really believe this, right? Come on, he would say. Charlotte would then say, to be honest, I've been hearing some pretty nasty rumors about you. Rumors are just rumors. I never betrayed this kingdom. It's my home. Then you wouldn't mind if Mark-senpai looked into your head, right? Asta would ask, as Geldor would then be infuriated at the mention of this. Out of desperation, he then quickly disappears using his magic, putting the captains on high alert. But then Yami would then look to Asta saying, do it. Asta would then form the Inumaki sigil saying, show yourself. As he says these words, the captain becomes visible once again before he's then told to freeze by Asta, who then appears right in front of all the captains, punching towards part of Geldor's invisible men, created by his spell of course, and he would say, deactivate. With these words, he then shatters the army to nothing and deactivates the captain's magic entirely, causing Dill to start to clap uncontrollably. That never gets old no matter how many times I see it. What else can you do with that? As he asks this though, Nozel will then say to focus, and Julius says it is time to reveal the crimes of the man before them. Using Marsh's magic, they then find out that he has not only embezzled money from the kingdom, but he has sold top secret special magic weapons, he even physically assaulted his own knights, and has done much, much worse. Julius will then turn to face his faithful knights with a much more serious tone. This is probably the worst scandal that has ever happened in our circle. One of us has failed, so it's our job to keep going, but we cannot reveal this to the public yet. I'm going to need you to take some measures to find out if there's any mole that resides in any of your groups. None of you are exempt. They then nod as Julius then says they're dismissed and they disperse, but Julius then calls Yami and Asta to his office. Are we really the best people to talk to about this? Yami would ask, and Julius would then say, well, you're the only ones who actually know about these stones. I was pretty surprised when I found this out, but Fugulian has one of them. That's what they were looking for. They did all of that just to get one stone? No wonder they went after me when I suddenly started destroying their plans, Asta would say. And of course Julius says, yes, that could have gone much worse. No matter what, we cannot let them get their hands on these stones, whatever they may be. There are only 3 stones remaining. They must already know if its locations. The first one is pretty obvious. And where's that? Yami would ask. Julius then says it's the water temple, and their mission is to retrieve that stone, and he's then giving them the mission since none of them are bound by royal responsibilities, so this won't get into political stuff if they just like disappear, because other captains have like certain things they need to do at the Clover Kingdom. Yami would then say, well, I really wouldn't expect much from me, but I'm gonna make sure no one thinks you made the wrong choice. And he would then salute, as does Asta, and he would then say that they're gonna do their best, and Julius wishes them luck. After they leave a few hours later, Asta and Noel and Ghost go to visit the orphanage, where the kids then all run to Asta and just start to mess about. And as he plays with the kids, some would then ask to show them something like cool, and Asta would say, you guys have seen me fly, right? Oh yeah, how do you do that if you don't have any magic? Asta would then say to wait as he then backs up before then holding his hand out, and as everyone waits, they then see something ridiculous as Asta grabs onto space itself and pulls it towards him like it was a freaking sheet, leaving the kids completely astonished as he was literally warping like the street in front of them, and this leaves the mages shocked even more. Whoa, Asta's pulling it! He's literally pulling the air! As Asta warps the area and the road and the buildings begin to shift, he quickly then stops as to not cause trouble, and Rebecca would then say, no wonder he's a senior magic knight. Did you know you could do that? And she asked this to Noelle, who would then shake her head in complete disbelief. No, he said he had a bunch of other stuff, but I didn't know one of his techniques let him literally bend space. As she says this, all the kids then run up to Asta, including Marie of course, as he then say that was all Asta, and he says that he has a lot more under his belt. And Teresa would then ask Gosh, you're not gonna freak out anymore? Only because he saved her. Don't get it twisted. Jesus, nothing about you ever, but I'm thankful. At least, Gosh would say. This puts a smile on the old woman's face as we then cut to the next day where the bulls are at the beach and instead of working, they're just simply messing about. They're the black bulls. What the fuck do you expect? Mauna, like usual, is arguing with Luck. Charmy is finding something to eat. She's like, just doing whatever. Vanessa stays away from the sun and under an umbrella with Nero as they would just kind of just chill. And Vanessa's of course drinking. There's nothing like drinking on the beach, she would say, just as Asta would then come up saying, you're not supposed to be doing that, you know. Vanessa would then turn to see Asta walk up in his uniform, and she says to chill a little bit. Take advantage of this, you've been pretty busy, haven't you? Yeah, but he's then interrupted by Noelle, who then comes over asking if she looks good, and as he looks at her up and down, he would then puts a thumbs up, making her blush. Okay, but seriously, stop playing around, Asta would say, as the tone in his voice would then change, and instantly the bulls notice, and by instinct, they then sit before him to hear him talk. At this moment, Yami would then arrive like usual, smoking, and he says, alright you fools, listen up. We just found the location of the temple. You're lucky I'm not burying you to the ground right now. Whose idea was it to have a beach day? As he looks at them, they all avert their eyes, making Yami pissed, but he then calms down and just says, to get down there, we need your magic, Noelle. Wait, what, me? Noelle would say, and Yami says you have until the next full moon, which is in about a week. The water currents around the temple get weaker during that time. Looks like you're gonna have to surpass your limits. With these words, the beginning of Noelle's training takes place the next day, and while Asta watches over her, Noelle would rise into the air with her sea dragon's cradle, and she is far more calm despite being stressed more than usual because she has a lot of pressure on her. And while she keeps her eyes closed, she continues to focus as much as she can before then opening her eyes, and she then looks to Asta. I'm ready, she would say, as Asta would then nod, calling out Rika, who would then open herself up and bring out a weapon, which she then attaches to Asta's arm. Thanks. Okay, Noelle, I'll start small, okay? She would then nod and Asta would hold his hand out, forming out four. He would then form out 4 Shikigami, resembling those that he summoned during the entrance exam. And as the Shikigami surround her, she stays on her guard. When out of nowhere, her defense is then broken through, leaving a huge gash open behind her. She quickly closes up the gash, however, but another one opens up in front of her, and she closes it up as well. And Asta would then say, "Can you continue?" She would then nod, and Asta says, "Okay," as he proceeds to keep attacking with these Shikigami. For those unaware, what Asta is using is a copy technique from someone in the Calling games. By summoning these Shikigami, having them surround enemies, he creates a sort of domain that cuts people apart with a sort of invisible force while they're surrounded by them. It's a very powerful technique, and Yuta kind of got to make it way stronger, or at least that's what I think he would have done over the years, make it way stronger with it because his output of cursed energy would have increased. So doing this and using it against an enemy would be very, very, very effective. But he just doesn't really need to right now. So they do this until night falls, and then they take a break to just sit down. And Asta would say, at this rate, you'll get it down pretty soon. Yeah, thanks for helping me, I would say. He says no problem, and he would then say, oh, you want to go to a stand? I heard the skewers are real good. I figured you need some food. Just the two of us, she thought, as she then turns red and would avert her gaze, and Asta goes to ask what's wrong and if she's okay, when he then notices something, a melody. Noelle slowly notices as well, and they follow it until they end up finding a girl. This girl will be Kahono, and as she's saying, the two would then clap, surprising her. She then notices them, but then she would bow despite being embarrassed. She would say, thank you. You're not from around here, are you? Asta would say. She says no as she comes over, saying that she just came to sing a bit. But since I'm here, might as well just make some friends, since I have the chance. My name's Kahono. What's yours? I'm Noelle, and this is Asta, Noelle would say, and Kahono would say, what are you guys doing out here? Asta would then say they're training, and Kahono says that sounds like fun, saying they must be magic knights. For me, I like to be an idol. Yes, Kahono would say, and this one Asta would be wild by this goal, saying that it's really hard to become one. Wait, What are idols? Noah would ask. The two then turned to look at her with a look of shock. They've talked about this all the time in the Clover Capital, you know, like idols are a big thing, Kahono would say, and Asta would say they're basically like dancers and singers who get up on stage and perform. They usually have very loyal fans. Asta, of course, knows this because he is from the 21st century. Idols are not a big deal in America or in Japan. This interests Noelle, and she begins to ask more, and they end up talking about this for hours until Kahono has to leave. They do not see her again the next day, but they did enjoy her company, and they have become friends, and quickly they go back to training. It takes Noelle only 4 days, as Asta has been predicting when they were training, for her to get down her perfect cradle, and then she takes everyone down and plunges into the sea. As the group begins to descend, already they are wowed by Noelle's rise in proficiency. Izumi would then pat her on the head, and he congratulates her, and she would feel very awesome and blush in embarrassment. Look, there's so many fishies, Charmy would say, as she began to then drool and almost lunged out of the cradle, only to be caught by Asta, who says, "Stop trying to, you have very strong canines," he would say, as she was trying to bite down on his arm, and now he would say, "Quiet down, she needs to concentrate." As Charmy and Asta apologize, the group then goes deeper and deeper to see new things they never thought existed. All types of different species from about them, but it is then disrupted when they reach a large gathering of whirlpools, which violently spun through the sea, making all the fish steer clear of it. "Hang on tight," Noah would say, as then pushing the cradle forward. In one burst, she would then make it out on the other side in seconds, and Magna would say, "Not even a scratch. That training really paid off, huh?" Asta would then say, "I'm up," as he would then unleash his anti-magic katana from his void, pointing forward to the barrier of typhoons before them, and he would then use the same technique used to bend space, as he would then kick the air behind him and catapult himself out of the cradle and into the open sea, but he pierces through it as if he were a bullet before then slashing up with all his strength, causing all of the barrier to be blown away, leaving an open path which he then passes through. And as he passes through the boundary, he then sees he's able to breathe once more, and he would then fall to the ground and roll. As he would then get up, behind him everyone else then follows, and they arrive as well, with Noelle then deactivating her magic, allowing them to land, and they find their view obstructed by a coral leaf and a bunch of rocks. So Yami tells Charmy to use her magic. She nods and creates a platform of wool below them, then that allows them to rise up into the sky, and they would then finally see the Sea Temple and its people. And that is where I'm going to end this part. Welcome to the end of the videos, ladies and gentlemen. Not gonna lie, once again, I have done a bad job of scripting. Oh god, I really have to like recheck and like overlook everything, because when it comes to recording, then things get awkward and I can't say certain lines that just don't sound right and corny, and I have to like re-record one line. That final entire like debacle about Asta literally destroying a whirlpool, I had to redo that 5 times. That's not even a joke. I'm so fucking pissed, bro. Oh my god. Oh, that's besides the point. I'll calm down. I do hope you guys enjoyed it, because regardless of how badly I scripted it, this did come out good. So it was an awesome part in my opinion. The next video should be either what if Deku had Mechamaru's powers, or what if Luffy had Yuno's powers, which will be awesome as well. I'll be like doing some crazy shit, like insanely crazy. I'll be going in depth about the Enies Lobby arc, which I don't think I ever thought I'd ever be doing, because Enies Lobby is so fucking long. But I mean, hey, there's a first time for everything. I hope you guys will enjoy it when it comes out. And like I said at the beginning, don't forget to like and subscribe, do all that, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you're having a good day. Tell me down below how you're doing, and we can talk about it. Peace.